Hey everyone, we are sitting here at Americold Logistics waiting to be loaded up, and it may be our appointment until 9 o'clock tonight to be loaded, but we got here early to try to get in and out early. Chad's philosophy: dip in early, dip out. So we are picking up a load here that's supposed to go to Arkansas. I think Grantsville, Arkansas, or something like that. I'm not sure. But it's a Walmart delivery. So we just hanging out. We hadn't done a live video in a while. Well, I haven't done a live video in a while, so wanted to see what's up with everyone and kind of go from there. But this is what is today? Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. So this is day 5 of the TNT phase. We've been through Nevada, California, Colorado, Arizona, Illinois.
5,200 mile worth.
5,200 mile worth. So we've been cranking it out pretty good. So what's everybody else out there doing? Let's see, is anybody going to come in here? Chad's over here playing with his iPad, trying to get some road footage from the Garmin 45. Take some pretty good videos. There was some wrecks last night, or actually this morning, that he's trying to find. That was it coming through Iowa, coming through Iowa. So I got done driving probably about 5 o'clock this morning. I think that's when I texted my wife, 5:09 or something like that. So Chad manned the wheel. Then as soon as we get loaded up here, we are headed to Springfield. And so yeah, Chad's had toothache for the last couple days. I told him meeting at that iron skillet, he's gonna get messed up. And what happened? I think he done broke a tooth or something. Got all jammed up with the iron skillet. The iron skillet done jacked him up. Yep. Waiting on my license to come back. What is this? Low battery. So here's a little Garmin 45, really small. Got a beeping noise, low battery. That's what he's actually messing with right now, taking the SD card out, playing with it on his computer here. He's been tossing around on getting a computer, so I'm trying to give him a little bit tech savvy here before I roll up out his truck, so he can do some stuff here. Is it actually playing now?
I can't see the person.
So yeah, this is part of the trucking thing right here. You know, the I can say really this is probably the first receiver that we've had to wait. Typically they're already preloaded and we just grab it and run. But this is the part of the trucking industry too. You know, you got to wait around, and our appointment's at 9 to midnight actually. So hopefully they can get to us before. But we got here, I don't know what time we get here. About 3:34.
Yeah, a little bigger.
got here about 3:30 to 4 o'clock. Is this Eastern or Central time?
Central.
So in Central time, and I checked in. It was my first time checking in, and the lady was, yeah, I can see where the whole persona with the receivers are, you know, a little bit difficult. I think the first time that I had the receivers, that backing video, that first back in the PSD phase that I did, I checked in, and the guy was a little sweet. He's pretty cool though. Then the girl came in there and we got in and got out. This guy beside of me over here, Schaefer Trucking, I swear he backed up about 5 times straight back to get in there, and now he just finally got situated. I told Chad I was going to go over and see if he needed help. Chad asked me if I know how to drive a truck. Well, the struggle was real, guys, because we went a few days without taking a shower because we were running so hard. And that was just one of the things that Chad had mentioned. He'd done several videos of wash that butt, and it was time to say that. It was time. That's something that's definitely going to be a little different for those that are used to getting the shower every single night, and for most cases we were getting them in, but there for a while we were running from Atwater, California to Idaho, to picking up a trailer that somebody had broke down, to picking up another trailer that somebody's hours had ran out. And so it's been an adventure. Definitely been an adventure. But let me see if I can turn this camera around here to kind of see, let you guys see. So this is where we're at, not at Martin, we're at Americold in Illinois, and these other truckers right here are waiting too to be loaded, I assume. And there's some pretty specific instructions on here, as far as, like, we picked this trailer up, we had to go wash it out, and we had to sanitize it and do all that good stuff. But Chad was talking about how, you know, if there's any blood or like Tyson chicken, that's obviously sanitary reasons. Not this particular load that we've got right now, but we had those yams, those sweet potatoes. I mean, they were literally, they dumped 48 bins on the bed of the trailer, and somebody else picked those. We dropped it off and had to grab this trailer to come down to make sure it was delivered on time. It was delivered. Then we got this empty trailer and came over here to this one. And like I said, we're heading to Springfield. But the washouts sometimes can be a little bit time consuming. Yeah. Chad's putting together a little video here. It's going to be pretty cool about some road footage that we've done. It's kind of different because this Garmin, it sometimes breaks it up in increments, and sometimes when you're doing so what it does is, we got a 64 gig card in there, and it just continuously loops, plays and loops. And I mean by loops, basically it just records over itself. Once it gets to that full 10 hours, it goes back to the first hour and then starts re-recording over that. But there's a button on the side right here that you hold that will save so for example, if you pass something or whatever, you can push that button in and it will take a little snapshot, and it will break that part down. That way you know exactly where you push that button at. But in this situation, we were just letting it roll, and it, there's a bunch of different videos, and he's looking at it on his iPad versus a computer. So his iPad broke it down into 1 minute videos, and they're like, I don't know, a shit ton of them. They're like probably 80 1 minute videos, 10 hours worth, put it that way. So we got one subscriber or one person watching live. I can't see who it is or whatever, but how's the audio and the video? Everything coming in good? Anybody? So I was noticing today when taking a shower, my gray, man, is coming out bad. And I was actually taking some, I'm not a big Snapchatter, but I introduced Chad to Snapchat today. He
doing snapping, chatting.
He didn't know what the hell Snapchat was.
Snap and chat.
So I was over sending a picture to the wife. Hey man, sounds good. Great, Dale, thanks. But so I was showing Chad the different features of Snapchat, of taking a picture of yourself and putting a beard and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, how it does it with you. And so he immediately messaged his wife, I believe, and asked her if she Snapchatted. It's mostly for, I think teenagers, young adults. My daughter.
Hear that? Young adults.
Yeah. I mean, I don't use it. So my daughter, though, she wears it out. My sister uses it a whole lot too.
My student wears it out. He's a Snapchatter.
He said his student wears it out. He's a Snapchatter. But yeah, so we just sitting, relaxing. Our time is eating up at the clock, instead of running right now. I think hold on a second, guys. I'm going to show you something. So my wife, this is the Qualcomm. Whoa, let it focus in here. There we go. So this is the Qualcomm system. So basically this is your electronic logs. This is all your messages from your company. This is basically your livelihood in the trucking industry. It has GPS. This is basically, so for example, if you're driving, you're running or whatever, this is where you log in. You change if you're on duty, you're off duty, or you're in a sleeper, or whatever you may be. This is the system that does the whole thing. So my wife was like, you need to do a video of the Qualcomm and what it does. And so it's kind of, I don't know if you can see it or not, but see, like right here it says DOT 8 hours. So you can run a total of 11 hours a day as far as driving. Then you got to do a mandatory 10-hour break in the sleeper, meaning you got to get rested up. They don't want you driving no more than 11 hours. And what happens is after this 8 hours, so once you do the 8 hours, so for example, this is how you really, a lot of people don't utilize the system. So for example, is that you have to do a 30-minute break before finishing up the other 3 hours. So for example, if you did an hour driving and you took a 30-minute break, you're kind of really screwing yourself, because you got to do well, how did I put that, Chad? As far as in order to get the rest of the
In order to maximize your time with the 30-minute break, you need to at least run
3.5
3
4
hours or 4 hours off of it in order to gain that much time back.
Yeah. So to really maximize it, you need to at least run 3.5 4 hours to basically go in there and get that rest of your time on there. And it's really specific, because if you do, took a 29-minute break or a 25-minute break, it still doesn't matter. You still got another 30-minute break you got to do. You got to do a full 30-minute break before it releases that other 3 hours of your time. So, for example, the maximum that you can drive, this is what I was getting at. So the maximum you can drive is 8 hours. So, for example, if you were to go in there and you took a break at 2 hours and did a 30-minute break, well, it's going to release your other 3 hours because you took that 30-minute break. But at that point, you're still going to have 9 more hours to drive. And remember, you can only drive for a maximum period of 8 hours before taking a 30-minute break. So you got to take another 30-minute break in order to get that other time released, because you can only drive a maximum of 8 hours total straight through without taking a 30-minute break. So that's where I was getting at a minute ago when I got all sidetracked or whatever. So just really being able to maximize and use the time that you're given, and being able to, and that's been something that's been a little bit challenging for me, is the hours of service. So, for example, when you're looking at your hours of service, and as you can see right there, maybe you can see right there, so come on, there we go. So it tells you at the top you got 8 hours. So I've got a full 8 hours drive I can drive. My 11 hours is full as well. Then my 14, but my 70-hour clock, I only got 29 hours on my 79-hour clock. And what that does is basically 70-hour clock. So what that does is resets after, what is it? You get so much back time back
30,
after
34-hour reset.
So once you run that down, you got to do a 34-hour reset. But if you run it efficiently, like you should, that time comes back to you every other day so often. Maybe like an hour, maybe 5 hours, maybe 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. That way, that 70-hour clock never runs. It should never really run down if you're using this correctly. So
basically, it's on an 8-day cycle.
It's on an 8-day cycle.
So everything you did today, you start out at 70 and you drive 10 today, so now you're down to 60. 8 days from now, you're going to gain that time, that 10 hours back.
So I don't know if everybody heard that, but everything's done on an 8-day cycle. So, for example, my first day of that 8-day period, I run out on 10 hours. And on the 9th day, I'll get that 10 hours back that I ran, and the second day I'll get that time back, and the third day, and so forth. So if you're using this correctly, that's the reason why I said that you should never run out that 70-hour. But sometimes you get in situations like this right here, where you're waiting on to be loaded, or or whatever it may be. That time just ticks away, and sometimes that you don't get that back. You got to do a 34-hour reset, and it's just the way it is. It's just part of the trucking thing. So what happens is in that 34, your wheels is not turning. When your wheels is not turning, when you're a trucker, what happens? You're not making any money. So that's the thing. I think that's I can probably say that Chad is really kind of, I ain't gonna say harped, but kind of really trying to instill in me is to try to run early in the morning, because going through Atlanta, going through different big cities, what happens in the morning times, 7, 6 to probably 9 o'clock is rush hour traffic, people trying to get to work, and you're in that traffic, and it just jams your time up. So that's the reason why Chad really harps on trying to get started really early. For example, when we're in those big cities like that, we're rolling out like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and to get through those cities in time where there's no traffic, we're just bypassing them, and then after we get out of that, we're on a highway and it really doesn't matter. So that's something that I think that so your time don't stop when you're sitting there. No, so your time stops, Dale, but not your 14-hour time, meaning that, so you have you got 11-hour drive time. You got an 8-hour of that 11-hour drive time that you can drive consistently. Then you have to do a 30-minute break. Then once you do that 30-minute break, you get the remaining time that you have left, usually the rest of the 11 hours. So if you drive 8 hours, 30-minute break, you've got 3 more hours. But now, for example, on this is your 14-hour clock is still ticking down. So when you're fueling up, you're off duty. When you're going into shipper, you're off duty. And what happens is that 14-hour clock is still burning down. So no matter if you have maybe 6, 7, maybe 5 hours left to drive, but if your 14-hour clock is at 2 or 3, you only got 2 or 3 hours. Then you got to do your 10-hour break in order to regain all that back, because they want you to have 10 hours in the sleeper. So they want you basically to sleep 10 hours. So for us, doing teams right now in the TNT phase, so when I'm driving, Chad's usually sleeping. Sometimes he'll sit up here for a little bit with me until he gets tired and restless, and he'll go back there and sleep, because I can only drive for so long. Then once my time up, it's his time to drive. But he has to be in the sleeper at least 10 hours of a 24-hour period to get that time recouped back for the 11-hour drive. 8 hours, 30-minute break, the remaining 3 hours of your 11 hours. But your 14 hours, it's really confusing. But your 14 hours never stops. Meaning, for example, you got 10 hours, you got 14 hours, 24 hours in a day. So that's the reason why that 10 hours has got to be in the sleeper. But no matter what, that 14 hours is always ticking down when you're driving or when you're stopped. And when that 14 hours is dwindling down, that 14 hours says when that's up, you got 10 hours, you got to get back there in the sleeper. So that's what happened to the load that we actually just dropped off in Illinois earlier. The guy had ran out of time. So his appointment was, it had to be, I think it was, they wanted it there at 10 by noon today, and he just didn't have enough drive time on his hours to reach the destination or to get close enough to sleep 10 hours and to get here with the time frame. So that's the reason why Teams makes more money, because the truck's pretty much consistently moving. But now I can kind of give you my example and what I think about so for me personally, I'm going to be doing solo, meaning I'm not going to have a partner or a teammate. My wife's going to come on out here with me. So for me, and for those that are really in a TNT phase, it's a little bit frustrating, because even though that you're not going to be operating in a team capacity, once you get out and get your own truck, it really kind of shows you the money that you can make and how hard things can run. Because for me, I'm going to be that 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to run out my time. So when my time's up, I'm going to be completed for my day at 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I'm going to be able to sleep. So I got to sleep for 10 hours. So if I'm in there for 2 or 3 o'clock, at 11 or 12 o'clock at night, I can roll out again if I wanted to. So it's just that cycle of, you got to have that 10 hours sleep time. So for me, I got a little frustrated the other day. I was talking to Chad, and he understands where I'm coming from as far as I don't want to do team, and I think personally that I understand that. So you got to do 30,000 miles in the TNT phase, which is trainer and trainee. At Prime, and I'm only speaking for Prime because I don't know anything else, and I really don't know a whole lot about Prime because I'm just so new in this industry. So if I say something incorrectly, comment below. Hey, if I mess up, I mess up. But if you were to do solo, so for example, PSD phase, that's basically kind of where Chad's kind of seeing really if I can drive a truck or not. I mean, there's just sometimes, I was asking Chad, I was like, have you had anybody that, that's in the PSD phase, which is the prime student driver phase, and basically everything, when I'm saying the time wise, Chad's always right here in the passenger seat when I'm driving. So there's no time difference in his time, my time. In the PSD phase, it's combined. So Chad would drive a few hours, and he would kind of see what kind of longevity I had driving to kind of see it. Because let's just be honest, when you're driving, early in the morning, like last night, I stopped at 5 o'clock, and that was when my time was up. I think actually I had probably about 15 or 20 minutes left. When my time was up, and we pulled over. Chad manned the wheel. But I was tired. I mean, let's just be realistic. I mean, when you're driving for 11 hours, even though that 30-minute break, that 30-minute break is, it ticks away quick. You can go in there and take a whiz, take a dump, grab a soda, grab a coffee, whatever you got to do. And once you get back in the truck, you've done burnt 15 minutes of that 30-minute break, and now you're sitting there for 15 minutes, kind of waking yourself up, drinking coffee, and doing whatever you got to do to get back, because once that 30 minutes up, it's time to roll out again. Yes, that's the only way I want to go with solo. That's me. And I respect the people that want to go team, because there's definitely some money can be made in team. But I think the biggest thing for me in my life and where I'm at in life is that I came here to trucking industry because I had wanted to do it for a while. It just wasn't the right time back in 2006 when I was going to do it. My daughter was young, was in school. Now she's in college, going to be a senior in college. So just being away from the family at that young age, it just wasn't for me. So coming from the real estate background, it just wasn't the right time. So now, she's out of the house. All right, guys. So this will regroup and regather here shortly, but we got to back in to door 15 to get this thing loaded up. So I'll talk at y'all later.